Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Achieving Unity Success Formula. The formula for us all to be able to achieve success by working together, building together, and growing together. This is a weekly podcast. We'll talk more about it in a second. If you would like, there is a free Achieving Unity guide available to you. Just select the QR code on the bottom right of the screen. Thank you for being here early. We appreciate you and what you do in making this world a better place. Reality Focused Dynamics, that's my company. Reality Focused Dynamics, creating success focused solutions, one reality at a time. And that's what we deal with everything in life. We deal with the realities. What's in front of us? Where do we want to be? Where we're going? And how do we get there? We'll talk more about that in a second. This is our Achieve Unity Success Formula Weekly podcast. It is on every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern time, and thank you for coming. Excuse me, a little bit of allergy, cold, flu virus that goes around. The QR code down the bottom right will tell you more about the podcast and help you register. It'll also tell you about who our upcoming guests are. And if you have guests that you'd like to see, please let me know, and we'll work on getting them on one of the next podcasts. Reality Focused Dynamics delivers those success focused solutions. Contact us today for more information on using Agile and Lean outside of software. Now, for many people, that's French. What is Mark talking about? Well, Agile is the ability to create and respond to changes and improvements mostly in the business environment. But I'll show you in a second an example of how we can do it also at home. Agile and the different methodologies under the Agile Manifesto enable success in uncertain and possibly struggling environments by emphasizing adaptability through better collaboration and communication. Lean is a methodology focused on maximizing value by minimizing waste, by optimizing our processes through continuous improvement, effectiveness, and efficiency. Doesn't that sound great? It's a way for us to show what we've accomplished on a day to day basis, week by week basis, and see that we're not just working, but we are accomplishing goals. The philosophy can be used in every discipline, from small business to large corporations to legal firms to doctors to plumbers, any vertical it can be used, including our homes. Connect with me and I'll show you how to do that, how to break all issues, products, and services and activities from the most complex business projects, including rocket science, to the basic steps of training our teenagers. That's the best way for us to do. If we can train our teenagers, we are in perfect shape. Here's a way we can do that. If you're a busy family, you have busy mornings, you are at a family breakfast, seems like everyone has somewhere to go, from work to school to many other events and locations. If you want to help resolve some of those issues, one of the things that you can do is have a family stand-up meeting each evening. During that meeting, everyone shares their tasks for the next day, and especially that next morning for getting ready. Place sticky notes on the refrigerator with chores and responsibilities. Then each person can move that sticky note from to do, something they need to be doing, something that needs to get done, to done because they've completed it. This minimizes decision fatigue. And we're all in a rush. We all have so much to do. We're all doing so many things at once. This reduces that fatigue and also reduces the time spent searching for items that can help everyone participate in a smoother and more efficient and effective process. Achieving unity through encouragement, inspiration, and inclusion, EII. Encouragement can be that powerful force that fuels the core of empowerment. Power is the core, right in the center of empowerment. We can encourage others to help accomplish the tasks that we need to complete. Inspiration. Inspire each other to achieve every goal. Unity makes us a successful team. We rise by lifting others. Inclusion, including others and celebrating every victory helps us both personally and professionally. Together, we can overcome every single challenge we come across. Empower through encouragement, ignite inspiration, and celebrate inclusion. Together, we can achieve the extraordinary. Are you facing relationship challenges, possibly parenting difficulties? We're going to cover some of the issues from that later on today. But right now, are you or someone you know struggling with relationship issues or parenting time issues? Maybe as a divorced parent, divorcing parent, it's tough. It's tough. Our judicial system, our court system, is not as fair and justice for all as we'd like it to be. But we can transform that frustration into understanding with what the frustration? It all originates from frustration. That's where it comes from. So, where is the value in our actions? It's about managing that frustration and not being angry. We must realize that anger holds no value. Anger, ANGER, actions not gaining effective results. That's all anger is. Just actions we make, actions that we do that are not gaining effective results. Life happens from personal relationships to parenting time to prenuptial agreements, and nuptials not required. A lot of people aren't getting married anymore. But we can learn to embrace and enjoy every moment and every challenge together. If you'd like, come out to the site, Achieving Unity through the power of encouraging, inspiring, and including others, personally and professionally. Let's just talk about what happens at home, with our friends, socially, down at the restaurant, in the corporations, associations, organizations, and universities. It fits in everywhere. Go to our site with the QR code on the left. That's the website home. If you have questions or would like to contact us, go to the QR code on the right. Ask us questions. We do want to hear from you. Again, this is a weekly podcast. Next week, we have Marty Winter Adams coming to talk to us. Women's motivation before, during, and after divorce. Life does happen, but we can make it better. And Marty will come talk to us about that. That's on February 12th. The next week, Alyssa Bakar, being in business and doing it right. Women business owners need to be at this one. Everyone needs to be at it, but especially how she helps women move forward. And we can make it together, part of Achieving Unity. That's on February 19th. The next week, Annette Evans Wilson, she will come and talk about know yourself, enjoying an authentic life. We're not being ourselves. Who are we being? There is only one of us. So come join us, February 26th. Talk to Annette. Next week, after that, March 5th, Frank Dominicis. I have trouble with his name. Great friend, known him for years. Leading teams and driving change. How many times do we encounter change? Daily. Change comes. So how can we lead teams through the driving changes that we see come about every day? Turn those changes into short-term ideas into long-term improvements. Week after that, we have Raja Vadaya. He's talking about invisible disabilities to increase your profitabilities. He'll be talking about personal challenges, physical challenges, sometimes that we don't think about. Be a great podcast. Please join us. That's on March 12th. And there are many more. We will go on. We will be going on every Wednesday throughout the year. Please come back. We'll be here every week for you. Well, now, here's the first of our two guests that we were talking with today. Agape Garcia is a leader in this comprehensive program, which covers a range of critical topics. This is including awareness, resource identification, recognizing patterns of abuse, skill building for communication and boundary setting, and creating personalized safety plans. Each week, Building Safe Futures focuses on a specific theme, building upon the earlier session to provide a holistic understanding of domestic violence. We want it to end. We want to be planting the seed for a secure and thriving future. One of our websites, we are just starting, and it is the three of us just starting, but one of the ways you can get a hold of us is through buildingsafefutures.com. We'll have our site up soon. Right now, it just goes to my Reality Focus Dynamics site, but still contact us, communicate with us any way that you can. Also, we have Regina Hiremath. She's also a leader in our comprehensive program, working on specific themes, building upon the earlier sessions to provide a holistic understanding of domestic violence. Participants will engage in interactive workshops in our program. She'll work with hearing from guest speakers. She'll help us get those guest speakers with lived experience. She also will lead in participating in practical exercises designed to translate learning into action. It's great to learn different things. The more we can do with what we learn and put it into action, the better we are. The program also emphasizes the importance of self-care and emotional well-being for survivors and advocates. Please help me welcome Agape and Regina. Slide my screen's over. Put everybody on the screen. Give me just a second. There we are. We're going to be pinning Agape first, then Regina next. All right, we both have you both there. How are you? Agape, Regina, how is your day going?
Good. Thank you for having us here.
You are quite welcome. Thank you for taking the time to be here. So Regina, you need to unmute. Won't let me unmute you. Are you there?
Hello.
There you are.
Great.
Thank you. How is your day going?
My day is going well.
Okay. Well, I think one of the things that we want to start with from the three of us as putting this together, and I know I am overly excited about working with the two of you, but when we talk about the program and we talk about what we're going to do, let me talk about first from each of you. What do you think are our first steps and where we need to go and where we need to go next? What's our first step? Agape, what are your first thoughts?
Well, I think that the first steps is general awareness. Having awareness definitely brings a heightened sense of understanding and being able to detect or determine the things around you. I call it situational awareness. And once you are able to identify certain patterns and or behaviors, then it allows you to see things from a different perspective and gives you the knowledge and understanding that's needed to make informed decisions for yourself or those that you love.
Thank you. That is so true in helping all that process moving forward. Regina, what are your thoughts?
I would have to agree with Agape. I think that awareness is key when you're dealing with domestic violence because it's typically in the shadows and people don't really talk about it. And when the topic is brought up, it makes people really uncomfortable. So I think the more that we can share information and all understand that this is a plague on our society and it's going to take all of us to help to eradicate it.
And I like what both of you are saying. That's why I think we're going to work very well together. Because speaking from the male side, the man side, and what we see, it's hard sometimes for us to recognize or believe what is violence. And I think, as both of you are saying, and I think as what Agape just kind of reached out in the beginning, what is it that we're talking about? Is it something that we all do? Or is it something that a few do? Is it something that we can work with, as I think we are going to be working on, is training and educating people on the negativity of violence, that any sort of violence, physical or mental, can be dangerous. What can we do first? How are we going to help get others onto this program so we can talk to them about understanding violence and that the anger is nothing more than actions that's not gaining effective results? How are we going to do that first?
Well, that's the challenge, right? I mean, I jump into facts very quickly and statistics. Some facts that I'll share immediately is that domestic violence calls are the most riskiest calls for police officers to respond to. And when news feeds come across my desk and I'm seeing that people are being neighborly and they're realizing that the scaffold is going on next door and they're tired of seeing, this perpetrator show up and they go over there to assist and their lives are taken. So when your emotions are involved, you don't know how far somebody is going to take the love that they have for someone else. A majority of us, have control over our emotions, and a majority of us don't. There are triggers, there are anger issues, there are things that help us black out and we don't even understand the actions that we took. I was being serious in the beginning and I'm gonna crack a little joke, but if you know who the She-Hulk is, most people know who the Hulk is, but if you know the Hulk and the She-Hulk, Stan Lee was a very wise person because those two characters have superhuman powers, right? The angrier they get, the more destructive they become, but they feel that happening and they're going through this physiological change. And sometimes they have the wisdom to retreat instead of react. And that's where that training comes in for everybody across the board, starting from, teenagers with the teen dating violence all the way to, through adulthood into the workplace. I mean, you name it, the public sector, it doesn't matter. The statistics of domestic violence, 1 out of 3 women, 1 out of 4 men, 1 out of 15 children are exposed, and 90% of them are actually eyewitnesses. So we have so much information to share and so many things to bring to light just for that awareness and the continuation of the training that I think everybody can and should benefit from.
That amazes me, Agape. Again, 1 in 3 women, 1 in 4 men, 1 in 15 children are impacted by violence.
That's right.
That is amazing. It's something that, and I'm glad we are working on this. And being the host of the podcast, I get to ask a lot of questions I know the answer to, but I'm going to ask them anyway. What is it? Maybe Regina, can I turn this over to you? What is it that makes us think that violence is ever valuable?
Typically, that happens when someone grew up in a home full of violence. From childhood, we learn how to deal with our anger. We learn how to deal with our emotions. And if we grew up in a home with someone who was unbalanced emotionally, they pass that on to us. And as adults, we come, with all of this stuff that we grew up with. And unless we tear that down, unless we seek therapy and we change those patterns and routines, then we just repeat it in adulthood. And even though probably grew up saying, I don't want to be like my parents, I don't want to be like my household, it's a learned behavior. And so in order to change that, you definitely have to do some sort of deep work to remove that from your mind and your heart.
It's a mindset change, isn't it?
Yes.
It's, again, what I think I'm hearing you say is our culture. When from the time we're born till 2 or 3 or so years old, we're pretty open to other people. We don't care about the color or the race, the ideas or the concepts that we've made these mental constructs of. We don't care that someone may be physically challenged. We love people at that age.
Right.
And then in our culture, the people that we are around, the television shows that we watch, the things that we see on the news or the media, and now, of course, social media, too many times lead us down that negative path. So we start growing with it, right? We start thinking that,
Right.
well, Johnny did it, Janie did it, Susie did it, Sammy did it. I should do it. And that's just not right, right?
Right. Yeah, you have to make a conscious decision to remove that from your life if that's how you grew up. And unfortunately, many people don't. They just continue the cycle onto their children, and then it just goes on and on and on.
Point. And Agape, how do we help people? What I know what we're going to do. I know in this program we're going to be inviting everyone that we know. We're going to invite the people that know people. We're going to invite everyone. How can we invite the people? And I've mentioned some names, but Regina, Agape, both of you, how can we get this across to the people that we invite that there is a better way?
Well, I think that, like Regina was saying earlier, not in verbatim words, but it's still a very huge social stigma to even talk about. Like she said, you kind of want, fade into the back because it's something that we just don't want to consistently have in our face, but you cannot conquer what you choose not to confront. So I
Wow.
believe that if we try to eliminate some of that social stigma and really, I don't want to say showcase, but continuously bring up these statistics and let people know, hey, I'll say it. I am a survivor of a double attempted homicide. Okay. I am a survivor. So
I am a survivor. I like that. Please go ahead.
thank you. And, once somebody is open and vulnerable and showing and sharing their story, then more people will do the same thing. And I've learned this throughout, many years. I mean, literally just standing in line, talking to someone, all I need to do is say that, and all of a sudden they open up and they're talking to me about it,
Yeah.
And I feel like once we're able to kind of get over that hump of that stigma, then we'll be able to share more and have a more, I guess I don't want to say broad understanding, but it'll be more receptive to be heard, to be receiving of the information that we're going to be offering and giving.
Yes. I like what you're saying with that because
Absolutely.
that opens up so much that people just learn that you wouldn't want to be treated this way, right? The other people wouldn't want to be treated. But you've come to a point just listening to Agape about you're saying you will stand up. Have you always been that way? Is that something that's always been in your life? And turn this over to Regina also. Have both of you. Have you always been people that will stand up? Or was there a time that maybe you weren't quite as strong, but you've crossed that threshold and now you are able to stand up more, to speak louder?
I think that when you've been through violence, either in your childhood or in a partner relationship, it does suppress you in some ways, and it makes it very difficult for you to speak out or to even change your life. But I too am a survivor. I'm the quiet side of DV in that my abuse was financial and emotional, verbal. So it took me a long time to even figure out that this was domestic violence and then to make a plan to step outside of it. But there's just something incredible that happens that once you step outside of it and you see how you just blossom, that I think I could speak for Agape and I know for myself, we we know where we were and we know how we got out, and we want to help others as well, and we want to educate the world on just making people aware and helping them to come forward and to join us in the work that we're doing.
Absolutely. And while she was talking, I was thinking like so many different chapters in life, right? Like I was saying earlier, teenager, sometimes you're afraid to tell anybody, you're ashamed to tell anybody, you don't even know where to go to tell anybody, and then, just fast forwarding a little bit into, college, when you're away from home and you're doing your own thing and you feel like know the world and you have everything at your fingertips, and it's the same, unfortunately, it's the same cycle of that stigma, being ashamed, not knowing where to go, not knowing who to go to, being afraid to share. And then there's that side of when you are in your workplace, right? Same thing. It's all of these different establishments that are there, but you don't know who to go to, who to trust, how to talk about it, where to find, again, the resources, and then that shame, that stigma, and these other things, where if all of these establishments would have some sort of training, some sort of education, some sort of, activities to identify healthy, unhealthy relationships, recognizing, possessiveness, jealousy, stalking, things of these natures, consent, for crying out loud. These are some of the things that, would definitely aid in helping break a lot of this generational traumas and things that we were born into that we didn't have a choice in. So that will eliminate some of this ignorance, right? Now, and I say ignorance because I will speak for myself under that. I didn't know any better. It's how I was raised too. It was inside my house, outside my house. It's what I knew. I had to walk through metal detectors to go to school. Okay. So this was normal for me.
Wow.
But with all that being said, I believe that the way that we can really bring people in is by being open enough to be vulnerable and share our side of the story. And to answer your question, have we been strong? Have we been able to stand up? For me personally, the way that I dealt with my personal situation was I gave myself no choice. Okay, when you give yourself no choice, it's easier to act upon versus having a whole bunch of options to choose from. You're like swimming in all of these things of, I don't know what the outcome is going to be. I don't know what the circumstances are going to be. I don't know what what's going to happen if I do this or if I do this or if I do that. But if you just say, I can only do this, then that's what you stick to. And now that I have, gotten to this place in my life where I am, a certified high performance coach, I'm running a nonprofit, I'm helping real-time survivors on a daily basis. When I'm listening to some people that are sharing their story, I have to determine, am I going to give them guidance? Am I going to give them referrals? Am I just going to ask them questions as simple as this? If your best friend, if your sister, if the person that you love the most is sharing this exact story with you, what would you tell them?
Beautiful. I
And
love
that
what you're
right
saying.
there really starts to open their mind to saying like, oh my gosh, yeah, what is the advice I would give them? Because you have to love yourself too, just as much, if not more.
Being able to accept yourself, acknowledge yourself. Wow, so true. And both of you are mentioning something that truly has, I think, risen to the top with me after the times that we've known each other, all the times that we talk from week to week, and that is teen violence and trust. Because as we're talking about it, and as we're helping others, that word trust, as short as it theoretically is such a tough word. Because who can people trust? And if you're in a violent situation, who is going to side with you? Who has been trained to know? I don't know about the counselors in school. Let maybe some of you, the two of you, talk about that. I went to a small school growing up. That was not an issue for me. I didn't even know about it till I moved to Denver. And it was devastating in a lot of ways when I heard about it and when I see what people do. I went to the Littleton Citizens Police Academy, right? And to their meetings, and they taught us. It was a 12-week program. And what I saw in that process, what people are up against and what people do, it's amazing. So that trust is difficult. What can we do to help the teenagers be able to understand that that is the path that we still need to follow?
Right. I think that one of the best things we can do is educate them on what love looks like and what love doesn't look like. Because I know for myself, I didn't know. I didn't know what was good for me. I didn't know what was bad for me. So I think that if we are educating parents and educating teens in the schools on healthy love, we're doing a service to the whole world, because now people are aware, and we educate them on the resources as well when they find themselves in a situation that it's okay for you. If you can't talk to a parent or someone in your house and let them know, then this is where you go to discuss what's going on with you so we can get you some help.
I agree so much. And it goes back to this education and awareness. And if I may do a small little exercise with us here right now, with your guys' permission, I would like to just give a glimpse of what that could possibly look like.
I think an actual example, it may put us on the spot, but I would like to hear that, because the more that we can teach others, the more that we can show others that it's not just talk, this is action. Is that okay with you, Regina?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. I'm going to ask each of you separately, right here, right now, what is your definition of trust?
My definition of trust is a belief in the other person, that there's going to be the truth spoken back and forth at all times. There is no fudging. We are a partner. We, like with my sweetheart, we talk about trust and we talk about honesty. So to trust another person, that's full openness. We're not talking about things that happened 99 years ago, but we're talking about since we've been together. What are we doing? How are we doing it? And how are we communicating with each other? That trust is about being open and honest about everything that we say and everything that we do.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for that. Regina, what is your definition of trust?
My definition of trust is being able to allow myself to be comfortable with another person in a way that they would not intentionally harm me. But if for some reason they do harm me, they would be open to hearing what I say about what they've done.
My definition of trust is feeling safe and confident in the environment I'm in and with whom I am sharing my vulnerabilities with, and trusting that their actions and decisions are not going to be harmful to me as well. Now, I'm happy that you guys gave me permission and that we did this exercise. This was to show that each of us have our very own definition. And so if we can reach out to these teenagers and these school programs and do exercises like this with them, then this helps with self-identifying, understanding your own definition, and then asking the questions like, are you living in that definition right now with the people around you? Because then that will help either a process of elimination of who you're not trusting, so maybe you shouldn't be engaged anymore, or who you are trusting, so maybe those are the people that you can go open up and be vulnerable with to get the resources you need.
I like that. And this brings up a point that we've briefly discussed, but that trust that I worry about the most is the trust for, again, especially our teenagers, our college students, and who they go to, who they can go to. And let's talk about the younger ones. Let's talk about the teenagers in the middle school or the high school, and being able to have that trust with their counselors. And I hope the three of us can reach out to that level around the world, reach out to say and ask some of the same questions you're both asking what is trust? What is trust to you? And do the people that come to you feel that way about you?
And February is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, so we are right on time, right on point, and we can really give an overwhelming amount of information, resources, data, activities. I mean, all kinds of stuff, with teenagers specifically. My personal opinion is like respect, trust, jealousy, control, communication, and social media.
Yes, that is so true. That
Right.
is, go ahead, Regina. That's just
No, I
a
was just
situation.
agreeing.
Yeah, this is a point. I was going to go out here just quickly and just think of the 15 words that I think about the most in relationships. And as I talk about often, and what I work on when I'm talking about achieving unity, by harnessing that power, and it's a true power of encouraging, inspiring, and including others. It's all about us sharing with others in a positive nature. And I don't think we're used to that. And sometimes it comes down to what we've talked about with violence and domestic violence and partner violence, that we don't trust the next person to talk to. Who do we talk to? And then what's going to happen? What's going to happen to me if I've already had violence thrown upon me? And even me as a male, I have. What's going to happen if I report it? How are people going to see me and talk about me? Do you see this often?
Yes, because that goes back to feeling safe enough to talk about it and then worrying about the retaliation or consequences that is going to take place. Because as teenager, it's that he said, she said, who's going to believe who, and things of that nature. And so, this is really great topics of discussion, because I feel like we should probably find some teenagers to invite so we can actually do some real time, real life scenarios. I recently went to a course last week and learned that teenagers typically do not report acts of violence until after the age of 18. Once they are after, once they are out of high school, that's when they feel that they have the capacity to reflect back and really understand that that was a situation they were going through. At that time, they were just under so much stress and duress and emotional confusion that they were coping the best that they could, and most of those were coping the best that they could with themselves. By themselves is what I mean, because they were, again, afraid to share and didn't know where to get resources. And if you think about just for a moment in the workplace, because two things here, if we're not teaching it in the schools, then we're waiting until adults get into the workplace to learn about resources. And how do they learn about those resources? There's a big laminated poster on the lunchroom wall. I mean, there's things that we can do in the schools where maybe they don't have to go and talk to somebody. They can just have these laminated posters, on the walls, where there are organizations, nonprofits, national level, state level, local level, where they can reach out if they are experiencing, X amount of forms of domestic violence, for that assistance. Third party type of help, where they don't have to worry about a counselor or a school or a teacher or a principal looking at them differently, and or ruining the trust that they have with their parents.
I like what you're saying, and that's what you said right there too. The trust with the parents, and I just put the words in the chat that I've always liked to go by, and I noticed that truth is not in there. Honesty is, but I don't have that word truth. So I'm glad you brought that up today, because as you were just saying, how do we find the people? And I know that's what we're going to be doing, but to put this on the table, how do we continue to find the people that we can talk to about the truth? And how can we work with others and understanding that the truth is the right way to go? Being honest, that kindness, love, patience. have the quality and respect and responsibility to carry forward. What can we do to adjust people's culture, people's learning, to be accountable for caring, a touch of class, the commitment, the communication, the devotion, and something that we all, I think, need to do, and I'd like to hear from both of you on this, is forgiving. Because we want to be forgiving, but yet when violence is involved, we first must report it, right?
Go ahead, Regina.
Yes, we do have to report it, but I think with the subject, because of how in depth it is, we have to take it step by step. And I think it's awareness and education. And as we bring people, because Agape and I meet people all the time because of our stories and because of what we do. I have a divorce blog with a private community. I'm a motivational speaker. I've just written a book about my experience. So we're always coming in contact with people, and it's not hard to find people. They're there. Once you create a safe space for them to open up and you've shared your story, they're very comfortable talking about the things that they've been through. It's just a matter of taking that step to say, this is what we're doing. We're educating people, we're bringing people in. And the more we build upon that, the better we're able to create this thing in real time for what we need.
Excellent.
And
Go
I
ahead,
and I
Agape.
think very similarly to, any of us and all of us, whether we're kids or adults, when it's somebody that we love that's trying to give us wisdom and share knowledge, yeah, we hear it. Yeah, we hear it. But when we really hear it, when we hear it from a stranger, then we're like, oh my gosh, what? That makes so much sense. And then, our loved one may be a little upset because they're like, hello, I've been telling you this for, a long time. So I would say that, I think it's very advantageous and helpful when you have third parties coming in to give that training, that awareness, that education, because when you're hearing it from the people you're around on a consistent basis, it's like you're hearing it, but it's not being ingrained. But when you hear it from that outsider, for some reason it resonates a little louder, a little deeper, and it makes a little bit of a stronger impact. I don't know why, I just know that it is.
Mhm. And that's some of the things that we have to work with as we work with people because we are all the same, but in that same mode, we're all very different because of our culture, because of our learning and what we've done, where we've been, from our parents to our grandparents to uncles, aunts, cousins. It's just a situation of what we learned is what we carry forward, as we talked about earlier. But when it comes to violence, I see things a little bit different, and that we need to be able to work with each and every one about that ability to stand. I think you both said earlier, stand up. I don't mean to repeat things here, but I think that is one of our biggest struggles is to take those words and again, Agape, like you're talking about, what is truth, each person. But when I talk about things such as reporting, I think some of the red flags start to fly. That, well, I don't want to go that far. I don't want to say something. But if we don't say something, how do we get to the next step? How do we
Well,
better the next step? Go ahead.
and while you're talking, I'm thinking about, the last 30 survivors that called that I spoke to. And what I realized is that, that's what I help them do. I'm asking the right questions, so I'm understanding their current circumstances so that I can be better at giving them the resources and the referrals that are needed for their real-time circumstances. And what I do is I help them understand how to communicate what it needs to be and how it needs to be reported. It's the how do you do it, right? Because there's times where people are showing up and they can't even talk to their basic, and they're not in their mental state.
Yeah,
They're
they're
in
not.
this frantic state, right? So when you're going to certain people, authorities, organizations, whomever you're going to seek that help, it's understanding how to deliver what you are reporting so that they understand and can be of help.
Mhm. That's true. And some of the people, and if I may ask both of you, how many of the people that you coach with, is it a first time? And how many times is it more than one time?
For me personally, I do not ask those questions. What I do in my arena is I am concerned with right now. What is your circumstances right now?
Beautiful.
How can I help you right now? Because the right now resources are hard to find right now.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of times when people are in that state, like Agape was saying, spoke with someone whose family member is in a situation, and the family member is the person who's in the situation, even though they know that the situation is bad, they are downplaying it, and it can be really difficult to get them to understand the severity of the situation that they're in. So, as a family member trying to help someone, they're caught between a rock and a hard place of wanting to go get them out, but understanding that they've got to work with them to get them to a place of coming out. So it's never, those situations are never easy. Just because someone says, I I'm ready to go, doesn't mean they're ready to grab the door. And just by working with them and talking to them and helping them to understand and offering them resources and allowing them to see past the point that they're in, then you're able to move them out of there mentally and physically.
That's so beneficial. And I like the way you're saying that, mentally and physically, because it is a mindset. And to be able for us to change that mindset, to improve that mindset so people know more up front. And again, that reporting, I will always consider as a top priority, because sometimes reporting doesn't have to be to the police or the sheriff, but reporting that to someone, and hopefully back to the truth, back to that trust. When we get into a situation where people don't have someone that they can talk with, they don't have someone that they do trust, but help them to be able to locate someone or come to one of us, be able to reach out to us, but to the group, to the organization, that ability to have someone, because too many people don't report it, and it continues. And again, male or female, mother or father, man or woman, once it starts, it is more difficult to control or maintain, right?
That's right. It absolutely is. And something that I was thinking about while you were saying that is, there's a couple of states out there already that have mandatory training for beauticians, hairstylists. People sit in their chair every day. It's a rotating door, and those beauticians, those hairstylists are trained in asking their clients specific questions under that umbrella of domestic violence. I think Tennessee was the first one that mandated that. And, think about if that was a mandate for teachers, you know, then teachers can
Right.
ask certain questions, or after school programs can ask those certain questions, and they can help. They will be trained, and then they will have the resources, and they can be that person that's helping to mitigate and provide what is needed to get whomever that person is to that next step of either healing, forgiving, changing outlooks, changing behaviors. Because see, when certain things happen to us that make us a victim, it changes our outlook and our definitions of life. And there are certain behaviors that we need to work on within ourselves, because we may be seeing red flags and being confused on those red flags. Are they theirs or are they mine?
And that ability to have that, again, the strength in what I'm hearing that you're saying, that each of us can speak up, find that someone we trust, find someone with the truth, excuse me, and be able to talk about that, because that reaching out, reaching to someone, which I hope we can help a lot of people, which we will help a lot of people in this, to make that first step, that next step in understanding where to go, what to do, and how to do it. Because if people aren't reaching out, how will anyone know? If they're not reporting it, it's kind of like a situation that we see in the movies, however true or not true it may be, but the quicksand. People get into the quicksand, and especially in the old Western movies, and what do? They say if you move, you sink. If you don't move, what happens? If you don't have someone there, someone that's coming by, what's going to happen? So helping others to be able to understand that they need to report it, they need to talk, they need to share, and they need to find someone that they can share with. And that's where I hope that we can be.
Absolutely.
Yep, yep. And I think that trust, listening to what you were just saying, you have to trust yourself first before you can trust somebody else, right? So you have to trust yourself in knowing that you do not belong in the situation that you're in, that you want the help, that you're looking for it, and that you deserve it. And then once you understand that this is where you are, because acknowledging the issue is already half the battle. Once you are able to acknowledge, and then you can trust yourself and ground yourself in that, then you're more open to seeking and opening your mouth to get fed.
Right. That is right. The opening up and accepting yourself, right? Because
Right.
where you are is where you start. And once we accept ourselves, go ahead, Regina.
I'm sorry, Mark.
Please
No,
do.
agreeing with Agape in that that's a really hard turning point for a person who's in a violent situation to admit that they are in a domestic violence situation because the abuser has made them feel like all of the problems are theirs. And so it can be such a challenge to get to a point where you say, no, I'm being abused. This person is abusing me and I need help. And by the time a person gets to that point, they've been isolated from their family, their friends, they've been cut off financially. They're so beaten down and broken that it can be very, very difficult to see light. And so I I go back to the awareness part that when people know there's a resource out there, like Agape said, we've been discussing, and our plan is to, make sure companies and businesses and organizations have this information for people. When you know you have a resource, you will go for it. I mean, for me, it took my girlfriend saying, I think you need to reach out to a woman's resource or a women's community center or women's center so that you can get some help. And had it not been for that, I don't know how long it would have taken me to make the first step.
Excellent story. That's so true. And as we look at that, we want to make sure that we, is again, accepting ourselves, acknowledge ourselves, be able to work through, as I work with people and coaching people, what could the problem be? What could be, where is that origination? Is the person just normally this way, normally violent, normally angry, or is there a trigger? And that's one of the things I think we've talked about a little bit before too. There's the triggers that we want to work with, and what's triggering people into the negative or that ability to take that next step. What is it that we can do? Go ahead, Agape.
Sorry about that. That's it. There's only one thing in the entire world that you can control. and that's yourself.
Yeah, it's having been in an abusive situation, there is no way of knowing all the triggers. These people are they're just landmines. They're you just don't know what's going to set them off.
Mhm.
And they're just angry about everything and anything. And they condition you into thinking that you are their trigger, no matter
That's
what
it.
you say.
Mhm. And that's an excellent point. And that's why we have to go on both sides. We have about 4 minutes left, so we're going to close in just a second. But that's one of the things that we want to do also is work with some that they're not to that extreme situation yet. There's some that are being triggered by something in a relationship that is making them angry, mad, violent, and being able to work with that and be able to talk to people to be able to get them to open up before they reach that trigger too. Right. There's some that it's already beyond,
Yeah.
but
I
there's
think
some that we're going to be working with. Go ahead, please.
I think one of the things that we could do, which would be really helpful, is to talk to people who previously were abusers who've done their work to come out, because they can give us firsthand knowledge of, you know, what where their anger started
Mhm.
and how it progressed, and then what work they did to come out of that. That's
Ex-
best education we can get in that area, I think.
So so true. Thank you so much, Nina. Okay, now again, we have about 3 minutes left. Can we get about a minute closure from the two of you, if you don't mind?
Yeah, thank you so much for, having us here today and for, this unity of this team here to put together what we're doing and having, and building healthy futures. And I would just want to provide some resources. There is a national domestic violence hotline, 1-800-799-SAFE. You can text love is to a number 22522. You can go to Confronting Domestic Violence, and under the resource page, you'll see 3 columns. On the right-hand side, there is a search field, and you can plug in a city, a state, a county, a zip code in any area in the nation, and multiple organizations will show up and populate for organizations that help for domestic violence. Also for the teens, for Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, you can go to loveisrespect.org and get a bunch of information there as well. And, Confronting Domestic Violence is a nonprofit organization that takes calls, accepts intake forms through the website, and is open to helping provide real-time resources if these other 1-800 numbers or organizations are not responding in the timely fashion that you need.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I wish I had time to type those in as you were talking, but we need to make sure we remember those. Regina?
Yes, I want to thank you so much for having us on. I'm so grateful for this unity that we're creating to bring awareness to domestic violence. And I'm thankful for Agape, for CDV, and for all the organizations that are helping domestic violence victims. And I just want to say, if you feel benevolent, you can go to cdv.org and you can donate to help us, to help fund the work that we're doing to help victims.
And that is CBD.
No, 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 no. Sorry. Confrontingdv.org.
Confront.
DV as in domestic violence. Confrontingdv.org.
CDV.org.
No,
Oh, it is
confronting.
confronting. It's not just those letters. Okay, that's why I thought I heard letters. That's why I want to make sure. Thank you
Yeah,
for clarifying. Yes.
confrontingdv.org. Yes. And she's absolutely right. Any little bit helps. Every little bit helps.
It
Especially
does.
now with funding for nonprofits declining.
That is
Right.
such a great point. Go ahead, Regina.
I was just agreeing with that. We need all the help we can get.
We do. And it's gonna be for everyone. And if you can help us anyway, my number is on the screen. If I can call you, if you want to, go out to the www.markettrinken.com/contact. Contact us. Let me know who you want to contact, either Agape, Regina. Let me know. Talk to me. Let's start working more and more together. Agape, Regina, thank you so much for being here. It's going to be awesome working with you, us as a team, building forward. I'm looking forward to everything that we can do to make tomorrow a better world for someone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.